Hey everyone, welcome back to Mathematical Statistics. This will be lecture 8 of the course, and in this section we're going to discuss building confidence intervals for the variance. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll call this section 1.8, confidence intervals for sigma squared or the variance. So of course sigma squared quantifies the amount of variance in the population, and it is the case that an experimenter will frequently need to estimate sigma squared, will frequently need to estimate the variance with some amount of in the form of an interval estimator, right? So we've seen previously, of course, that s squared equaling 1 over n minus 1 times the sum from I equals 1 up to n of yi minus y bar squared. We've seen that this is an unbiased estimator for sigma squared. So this is unbiased for sigma squared. And so when we talk about constructing a confidence interval, we usually need to think about what the pivot is going to be, and so what is going to be our pivotal quantity in the case of trying to estimate an interval for sigma squared. Well, let's start by assuming, so let's assume y1, y2, yn are from a normal distribution. We got random variables from a normal distribution, and we'll say with mean mu and variance sigma squared, both unknown, we'll say, important. Okay, we don't know what they are. Then you can do a little derivation here, and you can pretty quickly find out that the sum from I equals 1 up to n of yi minus y bar squared divided by sigma squared, which will be equal to n minus 1 times s squared. Of course, this is almost s squared. It's just 1 over n minus 1, and so just put the n minus 1 up top, and you get this. This guy here, we've seen previously, is chi squared. So this is chi squared distributed, and we'll say with n minus 1 degrees of freedom specifically. Okay. Right, and so here we have an expression that contains the variance. Right, it also contains n minus 1 and s squared. These are quantities that are known from our sample. If we can use this to help us derive a confidence interval for sigma squared. And so what are we going to do? Well, what we're going to do is what we've done in the past. We've used this basic statement. Probability, in this case, our endpoints are going to be chi squared lower and chi squared upper. Okay, it's going to be 1 minus alpha. What's in between here? Well, this thing here. Okay, and so normally, this is important to note, normally these intervals are going to kind of have equal length about the pivotal quantity, right? This is our pivotal quantity. So normally we're going to have an equal distance from this quantity down to the lower bound and up to the upper bound. But in the case of chi-squared distribution, the distribution is not symmetric, so we have to choose points that actually cut off equal areas. And so remember, chi-squared looks like this. Well, it has different appearances depending on the degrees of freedom, but one way it looks is like this. And so if you're trying to get, alpha over 2, you aren't necessarily going to be equal distance from your pivotal value. And so what we need to do is we need to choose points that cut off equal areas. All right, and that just means you got to look at the table and carefully figure out what value cuts off 2.5%, what value cuts off whatever 97.5%. Depends on the table, right? There are different ways to table the chi-square distribution. Okay, but you end up with this. Okay, and so what we want to do is figure out what those interval endpoints look like based on this expression here. Okay, so let me flip the page. This is a straightforward exercise, really just algebra. The result's a little different than what you might expect, though, but let's go ahead and talk it through. Okay, so I've got the probability that chi squared alpha over 2 is less than or equal to n minus 1 s squared over sigma squared, which is less than or equal to chi squared 1 minus alpha over 2. And what I'm going to do is just kind of derive an expression where sigma squared is isolated in the middle, as you'd expect. And so we're going to do some algebra. So we'll divide everything through by n minus 1 s squared. And so I get the probability that chi squared alpha over 2 over n minus 1 s squared is less than or equal to 1 over sigma squared, which is less than or equal to chi squared 1 minus alpha over 2 over n minus 1 s squared, which is 1 minus alpha. Okay, almost there. We just have to take reciprocals now, and when we do that, don't forget, we have to flip the inequalities. And so I have probability that n minus 1 s squared over chi squared alpha over 2 is greater than or equal to sigma squared, which is greater than or equal to n minus 1 s squared over chi squared 1 minus alpha over 2. Okay, so this is kind of the weird way of writing it, so instead let's go ahead and flip this. And so we have the probability that n minus 1 times s squared over chi squared 1 minus alpha over 2 is less than or equal to sigma squared, which is less than or equal to n minus 1 s squared over chi squared alpha over 2. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, and so this gives us the exact form of our endpoints, right? And so this one looks a little bit different than the previous examples when we had large sample confidence intervals for the mean and large sample and small sample confidence intervals for the mean, right? There we had z statistics and t statistics. Here we are using a chi-squared, so the form is different, but our confidence interval then is, this is our lower bound. So you take the sample size minus 1, multiply it times the sample variance, and then divide by the appropriate chi-squared value. And that's the lower bound, and then n minus 1 s squared over chi-squared alpha over 2 is the upper bound. Now notice this is the larger test statistic, and this is the smaller one, right? So when you look at the actual distribution, this guy here at the top is 1 minus, and this guy down here is the one that you use the top, right? So they kind of get flipped, right? And hopefully that makes sense. This is going to be a larger value, so when you divide n minus 1 over s squared, notice the numerators are the same. When you divide that by a larger value, you get a smaller number for the lower bound, and when you divide that same thing by a smaller number, you get a larger number for the upper bound, right? So it's all very, very logical. Okay. So that is how you generate the confidence interval. As you can see, it's really kind of based on the same exact setup. It's just the difference here is that the chi-squared stat is what's being used. Okay, and so let's do an example. And so here we've got a professor records scores for a statistics exam. Okay. For n equals 16 students, we get s squared he gets s squared equals 25. What we want to do is we want to construct a 95% confidence interval for the class variance. So construct a 95% CI for sigma squared. Okay? Okay, so this is super straightforward, right? Very easy. We know the formula pretty much. What we need is n minus 1 s squared over chi squared 1 minus alpha over 2 up to n minus 1 s squared over chi squared alpha over 2. Okay, and so what do we know? Well, we know n is equal to 16. The degrees of freedom, therefore, right, it's chi squared, so we need degrees of freedom. N minus 1, so 15. Okay. Alpha is 0.05, 95% is what we're after. Okay. And the chi-squared value, so what we need to do is we need to look up the chi-squared values that will be used in this. Okay, and so remember our chi-squared, we're going to draw it like this. So we've got some guy down here that marks off these areas. Some guy down below and some guy up above. They may not be equal distance from the center. And so what we find is that we need 0.025 here, and we need 0.025 there. Okay, and then the degrees of freedom are 15. So go look that up, and you should get 6.262 here, and about 27.488 down below, or for the upper one. Okay, and then we can just plug everything into this expression, right? So n minus 1 is 15, right? So 15, so we'll do the top one first, the bottom one first, times s squared, which is 25, divided by, now remember, this is the larger chi-square values, that's this one, 27,488. Okay, and then the same thing up above, except we use the smaller one, so 6.262. And I believe you get 13.64 up to 59.89. So that would be the 95% confidence interval for the variance for this professor for his class. Okay. Now notice this is a CI for the variance. So this is for sigma squared. This also implies a confidence interval for the standard deviation, right? So we take the square root of these things. And that would be a 95% confidence interval for the standard deviation. All right. So that is that. That's a good place to end. Let's, next time when we get together, we'll kind of start a new section where we talk about the properties of estimators, right? So we kind of introduced how to calculate a bunch of estimators and intervals and such. Next, we'll get into specific properties of estimation. So until then, take care.